I was 32 when my life fell apart. 8 years with Stephanie, my high school sweetheart, building a future together brick by brick. We had finally set the date, found the perfect venue, and sent out those fancy invitations to everyone we cared about. 2 weeks before our wedding day, I discovered that the woman I thought I would spend forever with had been unfaithful during her bachelorette party in Vegas. Not a drunken mistake, but the culmination of a secret affair. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever thought possible. If you are watching this from somewhere where loyalty still matters, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you have ever had to walk away from someone you thought was your forever. I grew up in Seattle, with parents whose marriage ended when I was 14. Their divorce left me with trust issues and a determination to never rush into marriage without being absolutely certain. That all changed junior year of high school when I was partnered with Stephanie for a chemistry project. She had auburn hair that caught the light, bright green eyes that crinkled when she laughed, and the kind of quick wit that kept me on my toes. "Barrett, are you going to help with this experiment, or just stare at me all period?" She had caught me watching her mix chemicals, admiring how focused she looked. That semester of chemistry sparked something real between us. We started with study dates at the local coffee shop, then moved to actual dates. I took her to prom in a rented tux that was slightly too big, and she pretended not to notice when I stepped on her toes during the slow dance. Our first kiss happened under the 4th of July fireworks that summer, and I swear those explosions had nothing on what I felt inside. When senior year came around, we faced our first challenge. Stephanie got accepted to a nursing program at a university 3 hours away, while I chose to stay local for computer science. We promised to make it work, and unlike most high school couples, we actually did. Every other weekend, I would drive my old Honda to see her, or she would take the bus home. We video called every night, telling each other about our days, our classes, our new friends. The distance was hard, but it made the time together more precious. After graduation, I landed a job at a tech company in Seattle. Stephanie finished her nursing degree and secured a position at a hospital in the same city. We had agreed early on to build our careers before marriage, wanting to be financially stable before taking that step. 5 years into our relationship, we moved in together, finding a small fixer-upper house that we could just barely afford. "This place has good bones," Stephanie had said, running her hand along a cracked wall. "Just needs some love." We spent weekends painting rooms, replacing fixtures, and turning that house into a home. I installed new kitchen cabinets, while she planted flowers in the small backyard. Every improvement felt like another brick in the foundation of our life together. Our friend circle grew as we connected with other couples in similar life stages. Saturday night board games became a tradition with Chris and Allie from my work and Jordan and Tess, who lived down the street. We celebrated promotions together, helped each other move furniture, and talked about our futures over backyard barbecues. After 3 years of living together and 8 years as a couple, I decided it was time. I took Stephanie to the mountain cabin, where we had our first weekend getaway in college. I had been carrying the ring in my pocket all day, nervous sweat making my shirt cling to my back. As the sun set over the pine trees, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, I dropped to one knee on the wooden deck. "Stephanie, you have been my best friend, my rock, and my favorite person for 8 years. I want to spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you make me. Will you marry me?" Her eyes filled with tears as she nodded, too emotional to speak. When she finally said yes, I slipped the princess-cut diamond onto her finger. That night we stayed up late, making plans and dreaming about our wedding day, set for summer 2025. The next few months were a whirlwind of happiness. We toured venues, tasted cakes, and created a website to share our love story with guests. Stephanie glowed with excitement, showing her ring to anyone who would look. I caught myself smiling randomly throughout the day, just thinking about our future together. "Do you think we are rushing this?" I asked her one night as we lay in bed. "Barrett, we have been together for 8 years," she laughed, poking me in the ribs. "I think we have taken things slower than anyone in history." I had no idea then that our carefully built world was about to crumble beneath our feet. The 12 months leading up to our wedding date became increasingly stressful. What started as exciting planning sessions turned into tense conversations about budgets, guest lists, and family expectations. Stephanie had always been organized and decisive, but wedding planning brought out a perfectionist streak I had rarely seen before. No, the centerpieces need to be exactly like the Pinterest picture she snapped at the florist during one consultation, while I sat awkwardly checking my watch. Is that so hard to understand? Around this time, Stephanie started talking more about her new hospital coworkers. There was Tyler, a male nurse who had transferred from Chicago with apparently revolutionary ideas about patient care, and Amanda, the head nurse, who quickly became Stephanie's closest work friend and future maid of honor. Tyler thinks the hospital administration is stuck in the dark ages, Stephanie would say over dinner. He says at his old hospital in Chicago they had much better systems. I noticed she was spending more time with her work friends, often grabbing drinks after shifts or meeting for brunch on weekends. Meanwhile, my software company had landed a major client, and I was putting in extra hours coding and attending planning meetings. Our time together dwindled, and when we were home at the same time, conversation revolved almost exclusively around wedding details. The venue wants the final head count by next Friday, she would say, barely looking up from her laptop. Did you remember to book the DJ? I would respond, scrolling through emails on my phone. We were talking but not communicating. I sensed Stephanie becoming more distant, but I chalked it up to wedding stress and our busy schedules. To reconnect, I planned surprise date nights, taking her to the restaurant where we celebrated her nursing school graduation, or the jazz club she loved in our early dating days. She seemed to enjoy these moments, but the connection felt temporary, evaporating as soon as we returned to wedding discussions. I also noticed physical changes in Stephanie. She started hitting the gym 5 times a week, bought a new wardrobe, and changed her hairstyle to something shorter and more sophisticated. While I supported her doing things that made her feel good, the timing felt odd, 6 years into living together and right before our wedding. You look amazing, I told her one night, as she got ready for a girls' night out. But you know I have always thought that right. A girl just wants to look her best, she replied, not meeting my eyes in the mirror. Her phone became an extension of her hand, and she began taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. The sound of incoming text messages frequently pulled her attention away during our conversations. When I asked casually who was texting so much, her answers became vague. Just Amanda about bridesmaid dresses or work stuff. You would find it boring. A few times I caught her smiling at her screen in that intimate way people do when sharing an inside joke with someone close. Once, when she fell asleep on the couch, her phone lit up with a message preview that simply read, "Cannot wait to see you tomorrow." When I mentioned it the next morning, she said it was just Amanda confirming lunch plans. Despite the growing knot in my stomach, I dismissed my concerns as paranoia. We had 8 years of trust between us. I refused to become the jealous, controlling fiancé who questioned her every move. As the wedding drew closer, we planned our respective bachelor and bachelorette parties. Mine was a low-key weekend fishing trip with college buddies at a lakeside cabin. No strippers, no wild partying, just fishing, grilling, and reminiscing about old times. Stephanie, however, had grander plans. Amanda had organized a 4-day trip to Las Vegas, complete with pool parties, nightclub reservations, and a suite at one of the luxury hotels on the Strip. The guest list included 6 women, 3 hospital co-workers, including Amanda, Stephanie's college roommate, and 2 cousins. 4 days seems like a long time, I said carefully when she told me the plans. The wedding is only 2 weeks after you get back. This is my one bachelorette party ever, Barrett, she replied, an edge to her voice. Am I not allowed to celebrate properly? Not wanting to seem controlling, I backed off. The morning she left for Vegas, I helped her load her suitcase into Amanda's SUV. The other women were already inside, music blasting, and champagne bottles peeking from a cooler. Have fun, I said, kissing her goodbye. But not too much fun. I will call you every night, she promised, squeezing my hand. My last text to her that afternoon read, landed safely at the cabin with the guys. Missing you already. Have a great time, she replied with a heart emoji, and miss you too. That was the last normal exchange we would ever have. The call came at 3 in the morning, jarring me awake in the cabin bedroom I was sharing with my brother. An unknown Las Vegas number flashed on my screen. Hello, I answered, my voice thick with sleep. Is this? Barrett asked, an unfamiliar male voice. Yes, who is this, sir? I work at the Bellagio Hotel. I recognized your fiancée from her wedding website photos. I think you should know she just went upstairs with a man who is definitely not you. My brain refused to process his words. There must be some mistake. Stephanie is there with her bridesmaids for her bachelorette party. Sir, I am risking my job calling you. I saw them kissing in the elevator. The man had his hand on her waist. They went to room 1842. I am sorry. After he hung up, I sat in the darkness, my heart hammering against my ribs. I immediately tried calling Stephanie. No answer. I tried again, straight to voicemail. I called Amanda, who picked up on the fourth ring music pulsing in the background. Barrett. It is like 3 in the morning. What is wrong? Where is Stephanie? I demanded, already pulling on jeans with my free hand. She was not feeling well after the club. She went back to the hotel to sleep. Amanda's voice sounded guarded, rehearsed. Which one of you is in room 1000? 842 amperes pause. Too long a pause. I do not know the room numbers. We are all in different rooms. Is Tyler there in Vegas? The question left my mouth before I fully formed the suspicion. Another damning pause. Barrett, you are being paranoid. Go back to sleep. I hung up and booked the first flight to Las Vegas, leaving in 2 hours from the small regional airport near the cabin. I wrote a note for my brother and friends, threw my things into my duffel bag, and drove my rental car through the dark mountain roads, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The flight was torture, my mind playing terrible scenarios on repeat. The businessman next to me kept glancing over with concern as I repeatedly checked my phone during takeoff and landing, hoping for a message from Stephanie explaining everything. Landing in Las Vegas at 9:30 a.m., I took a taxi straight to the Bellagio. The morning sun was blindingly bright, a cruel contrast to my dark thoughts. At the front desk, I tried to maintain composure. I need to get to room 1842. It is an emergency. I am sorry, sir. We cannot give you access to a room that is not yours. I was considering my next move when I spotted Amanda in the lobby, carrying a tray with coffee cups. She saw me and froze, color draining from her face. Barrett, what are you doing here? Where is she, Amanda? This is completely inappropriate. You cannot just show up like this. I brushed past her toward the elevators. She followed, trying to block my path. She does not want to see you right now. Just go home, and she will explain everything when she gets back. Her words confirmed my worst fears. I pushed the button for the 18th floor, ignoring Amanda's continued protests. When the doors opened, she tried one last time to physically stop me, grabbing my arm. You do not want to do this, she warned. But I did. I had to know. Room 1842 was at the end of a long hallway. I knocked sharply. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Stephanie, I know you are in there. The door opened, but it was not Stephanie. It was Tyler. Shirtless, wearing only jeans, his dark hair disheveled, a smug expression on his face. Can I help you? He asked, leaning against the doorframe like he owned it. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of Stephanie, emerging from the bathroom in a hotel robe, her face registering shock when she saw me. Barrett, what are you doing here? Her voice was high, panicked. I pushed past Tyler into the room, my vision tunneling. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? With him, Stephanie's first instinct was denial. It is not what it looks like. Tyler and I were just talking about work. In a hotel room at 9 in the morning, with you in a robe and him half-dressed, my voice sounded foreign to my own ears, strangled and raw. Buddy, maybe you should calm down, Tyler suggested, closing the door as Amanda slipped into the room behind me. Do not tell me to calm down, and I am not your buddy. I turned back to Stephanie. How long has this been going on? Her denial crumbled into anger. You had no right to just show up here. This was my weekend. Your weekend to cheat on me, 2 weeks before our wedding. Tears replaced her anger. I did not mean for this to happen. I was confused. Having doubts. Tyler scoffed. Come on, Steph. Just tell him the truth. This was not some drunken mistake. He looked at me with something like pity. We have been seeing each other for months, man. She was going to tell you after the Bachelorette party. The room spun around me. Months, Amanda finally spoke up. Barrett, I told her this was wrong. I told her to be honest with you. But you knew. You helped her lie to me. I looked between them, these strangers who had destroyed my world. "You are going to be in our wedding, Amanda." "I have known since February," she admitted quietly. They started spending time together after the hospital Christmas party. 7 months. While I was planning our wedding, saving for our honeymoon, Stephanie had been living a double life. I left the room without another word, ignoring Stephanie's calls for me to stop to let her explain. In the hallway, my legs gave out, and I slid down against the wall, my entire body shaking. Hotel guests passed by, averting their eyes from the broken man on the floor. The return flight to Seattle was a blur. I had changed my ticket, paying an exorbitant fee that I barely registered. All I could think about was the look on Stephanie's face when she saw me in that hotel room. Not guilt. Annoyance at being caught. I arrived home to our empty house, now filled with wedding gifts from early well-wishers, crystal vases and monogrammed towels with our initials intertwined. The sight made me physically ill. I spent the night packing Stephanie's belongings into boxes, moving like a robot, emotionally numb. The next morning brought the hardest phone calls of my life. "Mom, the wedding is off." My voice cracked despite my efforts to sound composed. "Barrett, what happened? Are you okay?" I told her. The bare minimum, unable to voice the humiliating details. My parents drove over immediately, helping me continue packing Stephanie's things, my mother periodically wiping away silent tears. My father, usually stoic, kept squeezing my shoulder as he passed, words failing him. Calling Stephanie's parents was even worse. "There must be some misunderstanding," her father insisted. "Stephanie would never do something like that." "I saw it with my own eyes, sir." The formal address felt strange for someone who had nearly become my father-in-law. The financial fallout was substantial. Non-refundable deposits for the venue, photographer, flowers, and catering. The custom-tailored suit hanging in my closet. The honeymoon trip to Greece that we had been saving for over 2 years. But the money seemed trivial compared to the emotional cost. Stephanie returned from Vegas the next day, showing up at our doorstep with mascara-streaked cheeks. "Please just let me explain," she begged when I opened the door. "It was a terrible mistake. I was having cold feet. I got too drunk." Tyler took advantage of that. I let her in, if only to get her off our front porch where neighbors might see. "Your things are packed. I will help you load them into your car." "Barrett, please. 8 years cannot end like this. We can go to counseling." I had spent the night reading text messages on our shared tablet that she had forgotten to log out of. Messages going back months. Intimate exchanges, plans to meet, complaints about me and our relationship. "I know about all of it, Stephanie. I read your messages with Tyler." Her face fell. "Those were private. So was our relationship. But you shared that with him too." When confronted with the evidence, she finally admitted the truth. The affair had started 7 months ago. Tyler had been pursuing her, making her feel special and desired during a time when wedding stress and routine had dulled our relationship. "I love you, Barrett." The affair was just physical. It did not mean anything. If it did not mean anything, that almost makes it worse. I handed her a box of photographs. "You were willing to throw away 8 years for something meaningless." As she loaded the last of her boxes into her car, she tried one more time. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That stopped being my problem when you slept with someone else." Watching her drive away from the house we had built together, I felt hollow rather than relieved. I called a real estate agent the next day. I could not stay in that house, sleeping in the bedroom we had shared, cooking in the kitchen, where we had danced while making dinner. Every corner held memories now tainted. The weeks that followed brought more pain as our friend circle fractured. Some, like Chris and Allie, stood firmly by my side. Others took Stephanie's part, suggesting I was overreacting to one mistake and should forgive her. A few tried to remain neutral, but found it impossible as the details spread. Stephanie's attempts to reconcile grew more desperate. She sent gifts to my workplace. Handwritten letters appeared in my mailbox. Twice, she showed up at my office, causing a scene in the reception area until security escorted her out. My coworkers tried to be supportive, but I could feel their pitying glances following me down the hallway. Depression wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. I stopped going to the gym, barely ate, and slept either too much or not at all. Simple tasks like showering and doing laundry required enormous effort. When my work performance began to suffer, I requested a leave of absence which my understanding manager granted immediately. "Take all the time you need," she said. "The projects will still be here when you are ready to come back." The darkest moment came when I found myself sitting on the bathroom floor at 3 in the morning holding the wedding bands we had chosen together, contemplating how 8 years of my life could evaporate so completely. Trust once broken seemed impossible to rebuild with anyone ever again. I moved into a small apartment across town, needing physical distance from the memories. The bare white walls and generic furniture felt appropriately empty, matching my emotional state. My brother Kevin, who had witnessed my breakdown at the fishing cabin, suggested I start therapy. "You cannot process this alone, Barrett. It is too big." He was right. I found a therapist specializing in relationship trauma and committed to weekly sessions. Dr. Lawson helped me understand that grief for a relationship follows similar patterns to grieving a death. I was mourning not just the loss of Stephanie, but the future I had planned with her. The children we might have had, the lifetime of memories we would never create. "You are allowed to be angry, doctor," Lawson told me during one particularly difficult session. "Anger is part of healing, as long as you do not get stuck there." I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during my years with Stephanie. Jason from college invited me to play basketball on Sundays. My cousin Ryan took me hiking in the mountains, the physical exertion and natural beauty providing temporary escape from my thoughts. Seeking new experiences, I joined a cooking class, learning to prepare meals for one without feeling pathetic about it. I bought a camera and started photography, focusing on urban landscapes, finding beauty in broken city scenes that resonated with my state of mind. The turning point came when Kevin convinced me to attend a support group for people dealing with relationship betrayal. In that church basement, sitting in a circle with strangers who understood my pain without explanation, I finally felt less alone. There was Michael, whose wife of 15 years had been leading a double life with a coworker. Sarah, whose fiancé had been secretly gambling away their wedding fund. Trevor, whose partner had hidden a drug addiction that devastated their business. "The worst part," Michael said during one meeting, "is not just losing them, but losing your own story. Everything you thought was true about your life together gets rewritten." That resonated deeply with me. I was not just grieving Stephanie, but the Barrett, who had existed before the betrayal, the trusting man who believed in the relationship he was building. That Barrett was gone, and I was only beginning to know who would replace him. 6 months after canceling the wedding, I ran into Stephanie and Tyler at a restaurant across town. My heart raced when I saw them, but to my surprise, the crushing pain I expected did not come. They looked uncomfortable, their conversation stilted. Tyler noticed me first, his expression changing to guilt or fear, perhaps expecting confrontation. Stephanie followed his gaze and froze when she saw me. I simply nodded in acknowledgement and turned back to my dinner companion, a colleague from work who knew nothing of my history. Later, I learned from mutual friends that Stephanie and Tyler's relationship had collapsed just weeks after going public. The foundation of deceit proved unstable for building something new. Stephanie made one final attempt to reconcile, showing up at my apartment, unannounced. "I made the biggest mistake of my life," she said, standing in my doorway. "I miss us. Nothing has felt right since you left." Looking at her, I felt an unexpected calm. "I did not leave, Stephanie. You did long before I found out about Tyler. Can we at least try again? 8 years is a long time to just throw away." I am not the one who threw it away. I kept my voice gentle, but firm. I've had to rebuild my life without you, and honestly, I like who I am becoming. I hope you find what you are looking for, but it is not with me anymore. The conversation brought a sense of closure I had not expected. I was not holding on to anger or seeking revenge. I simply recognized that we could not go backward, and I did not want to. A month later, I accepted a promotion that required relocating to my company's Denver office. The opportunity to start completely fresh in a new city felt like the final step in my healing journey. I sold most of my furniture, packed my car with essentials, and drove east toward the mountains and a new chapter. Denver's vibrant energy matched my renewed outlook. I found an apartment downtown with views of the mountains, joined a rock climbing gym, and immersed myself in the city's outdoor culture. Work challenges kept my mind engaged, and gradually, I built a new social circle through colleagues and neighbors. What surprised me most was rediscovering parts of myself that had been submerged in my relationship with Stephanie. I had always accommodated her preference for indoor activities, despite my love of the outdoors. Now, I was hiking every weekend, camping under stars, remembering how much these things had once meant to me. The final piece of my healing came in a letter from Stephanie, nearly a year after our breakup. Unlike her previous attempts to reconcile, this letter simply offered a genuine apology, acknowledging the pain she had caused without asking for anything in return. I read it twice, then filed it away, appreciating the gesture but no longer needing it. 2 years after the canceled wedding, my life had transformed entirely. The man who had once defined himself through an 8-year relationship now stood confidently on his own. I had learned that while love is worth the risk, self-respect must never be sacrificed for it. The betrayal that once seemed like the end of my story had merely been the end of a chapter, and the new pages I was writing felt increasingly authentic and true. If there is one thing I have learned through this journey, it is that sometimes the relationships that do not work out save us from the lives that were not meant for us. Have you ever experienced something painful that ultimately led you somewhere better? Share your story in the comments. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of people supporting each other through life's toughest moments. And remember, healing is not linear, but it is always possible. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength in your own journey, wherever it may lead.